And in a few days' time, it will be D-Day in the National Assembly when lawmakers in the Red Chamber and the Green Chamber will be electing their principal officers. Intensive lobbying and horse trading continues among lawmakers-elect of various political parties. What should Nigerians be expecting on Tuesday, June 13, when the 10th Assembly will be inaugurated? Arise Director of News and Politics Editor Sumner Sambo joins us now here in the studios for an analysis of the situation. And also joining us is Seyi Olubanjo, a public affairs analyst in our offside studio. Gentlemen, very warm welcome to Newsnight. Let's start with you, Sumner. I mean, this is your turf and the rest, and the lobbying are getting really intensified. But the questions Nigerians are asking is, what's the spectacle, about the leadership of the National Assembly that is threatening the fabrics of, the Nigerian nation?
Thank you so much, Christian. The leadership of the National Assembly is very important because the legislature plays a critical element of our democracy. And if you look at it, the only difference between a military government and a democratic government is actually the parliament. And that's why it's assumed to be the first arm of government in terms of its closeness to the people. And so the election of these presiding officers is very important and must be a patriotic venture by all senators-elect and House of Reps members-elect because they owe it a duty to the nation to pick people, to elect people that will have patriotism at heart, and nothing must interfere in that process, whether the political party that elected the lawmakers elect or the incumbent president or anyone. That process must be something that is in line with Section 50, subsection 1 of the 1999 Constitution. And it says that the senators-elect and the House members-elect, that is the lawmakers-elect, are to, when they are sworn in, elect one among themselves to be the Senate President and then Deputy Senate President, or Speaker and Deputy Speaker. And they shall do this as lawmakers who have sworn to uphold the Constitution without any interference by the executive, by the party, or anyone. So that we don't have people who are elected as President of the Senate or Deputy President of the Senate or Speaker or Deputy Speaker bringing a situation like we've had in the past where bills are brought into the chamber or other requests by the executive, including contracts that are written in Chinese language, like we saw in the last assembly that went, where contracts are written in Chinese language, and both the Nigerian parliament and the executive in one way or the other just approve things like that, only for us to come and hear that people have signed contracts that they do not understand. And so the sovereignty of Nigeria is being questioned, contracts being entered into, and lawmakers who are supposed to uphold the sovereignty of the country do not know what was signed, or in terms of loans that were collected and all of that. So it's a patriotic venture that you would have heard people like elder statesman Professor Angu Abdullah is saying, and other groups. We mustn't give room to political parties to just impose people. The days of imposition are over. And like I heard the PDP trying to cry out here that there are allegations that people will be intimidated and all of that. Having learned from what happened during the time it was in government itself, I think it's speaking based on that experience, because the issues of imposition have never helped anyone. We are going into the Senate, for example, where the main party, the governing APC, has 59 senators elect at the moment. The PDP has 36 senators elect. The Labour Party having 8. Then SDP and I think ABGA having 2. Then YPP and all of that having 1. Now, in this aspect, we have a Senate whereby the opposition holds a huge chunk of it, 50 senators to 59 from the governing party. So now the lawmakers must follow the constitutional procedure, which says that Section 50, subsection 1A and B, that it's within the lawmakers that they will elect among themselves. And of course, the procedures are laid down in the standing orders, who is qualified and who is not qualified.
Absolutely. Let's go to Olubanjo in Offside Studio now. And the question is, elementary as it might sound, is what is lobbying in the Nigerian political context? Does it involve financial inducement as being preached against by Vice President Kashim Shettima, who has advised against it? Money politics is playing out, you know, in the National Assembly right now. Will that help to choose the right person or persons to lead the National Assembly?
Definitely, that kind of politics will not help. But we all know the kind of politics that's being played in Nigeria. The National Assembly is the apex legislative institution of democracy in Nigeria. And because of that, it is the Nigerians expect the leadership of the 10th National Assembly to be that will cooperate with the executive to be able to fulfill the laudable vision of President Bola Ahmed Tinubu. And I want to also tell us, I've listened to opinions that have been expressed by, elder statement, like Professor Angwa Abdullahi. He just mentioned it now, that the legislative, that election, the executive or any other stakeholders should not intervene in the results or in the process, in the procedures of the emergence of the leadership of the 10th Assembly. But in the first time, I want to ask this question. Can we have lawmakers that were just elected without a party? These senators elect, were they not elected on the platform of different parties? And when we talk about that, it goes a long way to say that the party involved, the APC that we're talking about now, the ruling party, cannot just leave its senators, its lawmakers to just go as a divided house. So there is need for consensus building. And consensus building is part of democracy. It's a democratic parties. So there's nothing bad when, having done its own background check on all the aspirants seeking for leadership positions in the 10th Assembly, and they have come out, the National Working Committee has come out to say that of all of them, this is the person that we believe he has the capacity, he has the wealth of experience, he has a commitment to the party and also to Nigerians. His track records are speaking for him. Akpabio, he was called an uncommon governor when he was governor of Akwa Ibom State. And even as Minister of the Niger Delta Affairs, he performed credibly well. He was also called uncommon minister. Now, right. Coming back to your question.
Very quickly.
Very quickly, yeah. I believe that the senators are well accomplished, businessmen, politicians on their own right. I don't believe anybody can buy them. Even though the horse trading is going on here and there, people are distributing money, emoluments here and there, inducements here and there. But I just want to say that beyond that, I know the senators themselves will use their own discretion to be able to choose the right person. They will use their discretion based on their track record, based on what they have done in the past, based on their capacity. They will be able to choose the right person. So the question of anybody influencing the Senate...
I think, Seyi, I think you've made your point. I'm sorry to barge in here, so that we don't waste so much time on lobbying and financial inducement, which, of course, analysts and observers will say is often pervaded the National Assembly, whether when it comes to leadership issues or when voting for some particular issues of national interest. Sumner, when you look at the composition, let's take the Senate, for example, 109 members, 59 for the ruling party, and the opposition having 50. Do you think that there could be a swing? Can there be?
Yes, there can be. You see, democracy is all about, negotiation. And the governing All Progressives Congress as the ruling party has, the leverage to actually get people that it wants, project certain candidates that they feel that can represent their interests. But one thing that must be prevented is the issue of imposition. So all the APC as the governing party can do is to negotiate, enter into, lobbying with the other opposition political parties. And if the opposition is united too, they can also lock their numbers and then go into the APC's camp and then pick some numbers there and make something out of it. But of course, the decency about this election is that even if the opposition comes together, as long as they don't have the majority, they would have to pick one person from the APC, which has the higher numbers, to be the presiding officers. So in this instance, we've seen that happening. In 2015, you could see that the opposition locked on. They picked someone like Bukola Saraki to be the president of the Senate, and then picked one of themselves, Ike Ekweremadu, to be the deputy president of the Senate. It's all about political negotiation. It's all about lobbying, and I must state clearly here that sovereignty...
Was that not a house divided against
Yes,
itself?
it was a house, but that's democracy in action, and sovereignty belongs to the people. And once senators take the oath, they no longer belong to political parties or to the executive. Yes, President Bola Tinubu has a right, and he has a leverage that he would enjoy as the president in power, that he would want someone to be the Senate president or the speaker, but he still has to be lobbying. And he has been in the parliament before, in the aborted Third Republic, and he himself, he almost became president of the Senate because of lobbying here and there. And then his wife, including the president, the vice president at the moment, including his chief of staff. So they know that there's a fine line that you have to walk. And if you don't walk that fine line, senators or House of Rep members are angry. They could go against your wish, and you wouldn't have someone to work with.
When it comes to, passing of bills or some executive requests and the rest. But very quickly, before I come to you, Seyi, Sambo, let me still ask you, there's this knotty issue about an all-Muslim, heads of government, the executive, the legislature, and the rest. Maybe Seyi should take this first before Sumner. Seyi, okay, let's come to you. What do you think about the Muslim ticket, Muslim, leadership of the executive and the National Assembly?
It's quite unfortunate that we are having cause to belabor issues on a matter like this in a multilingual, multi-religious, and multi-ethnic nation states that whose unity is quite fragile because of what has happened in the past. I don't know why some senators will just at least we need to be sensitive. The president ran when he was contesting, before he was elected by Nigerians. He ran on a Muslim ticket. It was the Christians in Nigeria were very apprehensive. But now that we already have a president who is a Muslim and the vice president who is also a Muslim, now equity, fairness demands that the next person on that echelon of that of the presidential system of government that we are running, I know that the Senate president is number 3, the number 3 citizen, should be a Christian. He should go to the Christians. So I don't know why we are not really seeing it from that angle. And that is the more reason that the ruling party and also the president have thrown their weight behind a Christian who is also a southerner. The president is from the southwest. The vice president is from the northeast. So it has been zoned, the party zoned the Senate presidency to the south. And a Christian has just been recommended by the party to the senators elect. So I think if we are being sensitive to the Christians in Nigeria, I think we should just allow Akpabio to fly.
To have it. Okay.
Yes, I think you've made your point. And please, before I round up, please, sir, I just also want to say that the Southeast have had a very fair share of the Senate presidency in Nigeria. Between 1999 and 2007, 5 Senate presidents were paraded by the Southeast. And it started with Evans Ewenem.
I think we know the details. Yes,
Yes,
Seyi, sorry,
yes.
we know
So
the
I think
details.
it's
I
a turn of the South.
Yeah,
We should
Seyi.
just concentrate with them.
Thank you very much. Sumner, would you agree that the Southeast, some people, in fact, people of the Southeast, they feel that, you know, they're already out of the reckoning in this administration? No top key political position. Are they being cheated? Is it right, okay, to have somebody from the South, you know, to say, balance the religious or the geopolitical equation here? What are your thoughts, quickly?
Thank you so much, Christian. If you look at the geopolitics of it, you will discover that, yes, actually, Akpabio ticket being proposed by APC is actually in line with the current realities. Because, I mean, here's someone who comes from the South, and then he's from the Christian religious faith. And so it actually balances up what, the majority assumption of what our government should be like is, the situation at the moment. But of course, you will know that there are also some fears that if Akpabio comes on board, we would have, the heads of our three branches of government from the South. That's the president of the country, Bola Ahmed Tinubu, heading the executive branch of government, Justice Ariwola, heading the judicial, branch of government, although his own is through hierarchy and not succession and not through election. And then, of course, you have the other third arm of government also having that. So in this instance, the fears that are making people like Abdulaziz Yari to want to challenge this from the Northwest is that we may have that kind of situation. But then, if you flip back to when the former CJN, Justice Onogen, was removed, we had a time in this country where Amalawan was the president of the Senate, we had President Muhammadu Buhari as the head of the executive, and then, of course, the head of the judiciary was, being headed by someone from the Muslim North. So this has happened before, and that's why we're asking people to actually allow the lawmakers to be patriotic and look at these issues wholeheartedly. Sovereignty belongs to the people of Nigeria, and the sovereignty, the representatives of that sovereignty are the lawmakers we put at the National Assembly through the Senate and the House of Reps. So when the lawmakers elect get into the red or green chamber on that day, they should think about the Nigerian people and not allow any man or woman in their political party to decide their fate or any other person to influence them, including using money to influence them. It's a patriotic duty. They'll look at the proposition from the governing APC and see if it flows with what the country needs, and then they will just key into it and elect them. But if it doesn't flow, then they will have a change. And the speaker too, you see that is from the northwest of the country. The APC has given us the proposition. It's left for the main opposition to sit together as they head to the chamber that day to see if indeed they will go that way or they will pick someone else. And with the way politics go in the National Assembly, you may even be surprised that somebody whose name has not been mentioned is nominated on the floor that day. If that happens, I mean, what will happen?
Yes, we've seen that.
Once they are elected, based on Section 50, subsection 1A and B, they will become president of the Senate and become president of the, Speaker of the House. Because the Constitution allows the lawmakers to elect within themselves. And so that's why when we hear these agitations here by the main opposition, the PDP, that they are going to arrest some lawmakers, put them in some way, I don't think this is what our democracy needs. And now the president should learn to lobby. The chairman of the APC should learn to lobby other opposition political parties and not to use the coercive apparatus of state to, intimidate people. It may not necessarily work on the voting day.
Thank you so very much. No better place, to end this chat. Sumner Sambo is Arise Politics Editor and Director of News, and in the offsite studio is being Seyi Olubanjo, a public affairs analyst. Gentlemen, thanks very much for coming to add verve to Newsnight.